Loot! You have faced off the 3D7 bugbears. And now you run through their pockets, and you pull out their purses, and you loot their monies they've had on them, and you go and find that chest with the wagon train they knocked over earlier, and that's got some money in it. And you've wandered off with a lot of money. Far more money than you could have earned doing something normal like being a guard or a bodyguard or a scribe or an acolyte. Because you're an adventurer. You're in a high-risk, high-reward occupation. Now you've got your reward. What do you spend it on? You've already got a weapon. You've already got armor. Hopefully you've still got all your equipment. So you can spend a bit to replenish that, and there is slightly better equipment out there, and you can buy some more equipment. And you're going to have living expenses, and you can look up what that costs. But what do you do with the other 50 gold pieces you've suddenly earned? What is there to do with that? You just total it up and add it to an ever-increasing pile? Do you give it to the wizard so he can spend it on all those weird inks and bizarre things so he can expand his spellbook? I guess you throw a bit into whatever pool you have for buying diamonds. If you're playing D&D, you're going to want a good stash of diamonds. Well, diamonds are instrumental in getting your ass raised when you get killed. So, you can buy some diamonds. And now what do you spend your money on? You've still got this ever-increasing pile of loot, because you seem to be some sort of adrenaline junkie. You keep on going on more dangerous and more dangerous of expeditions and fighting the more worse and horrible monsters and coming back with either lost treasures or objects to art or looted jewelry or even quite mundane items, silver candlesticks, other pieces of art, just valuable objects. You pawn them off, you sell them to a collector, and you've now got this big pile of cash. What do you do with it? After all, you're an adventurer. What do you do with the cash once you've got the cash? Well, my advice to you is you look to your GM and you slip him a first edition Dungeons and Dragons book. Because in first edition Dungeons and Dragons, there's a huge slew of things you can do with your ill-gotten gains. About a quarter of the book is dedicated to things you can buy that give you cool abilities for having gold. Cool thing number one, you can get hirelings. So just like a real-world expedition, you can hire servants. You can hire someone to put up the tent. You can hire someone to cook. You can hire someone to clean your shoes, put your shoes on you, to shave you in the morning. Give you a nice clean shave. Because once you've got the money to spend, you need to spend it. And you can hire extra guards, so you don't have to stand watches at night. And it's got the prices in there for them. Oh, you can outfit an expedition so that it's not just you and 3 other murder hobos going down into dangerous places or trekking across unknown locales. You've got 20 or 30 other bods with you to... Well, if you think from a strictly mechanical point of view, they're extra hit points. They're diversionary attacks. The monsters are only going to get X attacks. There's 6 monsters and they have 2 attacks each. That's 12 attacks. Now those 12 attacks can be divided amongst you 4 full murder hobos, or it can be divided against 30 of you, or more probably the 15 of you, since you're not going to have the guy who shines the shoes out there in the front line, and certainly not the cook. You don't want the cook to die. But those extra guards, that small squad of bowmen you've got to lay down some suppressive fire, they can all wear a hit, even if they just got their 1 hit dice, or these days they're 11 hit points. They can take that 1 or maybe even 2 hits before they go down. And if you save them, then they'll probably be more loyal. But they do cost gold. And something you can spend gold on is extra warm bodies. This is something you could definitely consider in your Savage Worlds. Because in that game, the extra warm bodies are your extra hit points. That's how you get more hit points in Savage Worlds. You have followers, you have guys, you have extras. And extras go down like anything in Savage Worlds. But every attack directed against extras, not an attack directed against you. It's not a wound inflicted on you, which is a hard thing to get rid of. Likewise, in D&D, they are extra hit points. And if you read a little further on the DMG, you can point out the getting intoxicated rules. Yes, get your henchmen, look it up when you take them down into the dungeon. Because, okay, they won't hit as easily, but they're only 0 level characters, or they're NPCs. Their attack stats are probably pretty ratty anyway. But the first edition AD&D rules. Getting someone almost blind drunk gives them 5 extra hit points and 40% extra loyalty. They're far more likely to stand up against those trolls, and they're too blind drunk to care. And this is some historical precedents. In naval battles, the Battle of Trafalgar, when they sighted their French ships, they got a tot of rum. When they moved in formation, they got another tot of rum. When they were almost about to close with the French ships, they got another tot of rum. A tot of rum is a glass of rum. 3 glasses of rum. Most of them were pretty, sloshed, fighting on a fighting ship. That's what you want, because you don't want to be scared. So that's something you can do with your gold. You can hire extra. But then you can spend extra money on booze so that they get those extra bonuses, so they survive just a little bit longer, those extra hit points, because they just don't feel the hit. And they're braver. They'll stand the line. They'll stay it. They won't run at the first horrifying encounter. When the carrion crawlers come slurping along the floor of the dungeon, possibly the walls of the dungeon, those things crawl on walls, and then all their tentacles are coming out, and their slime is dripping off them. They don't all turn down and run and scream. They go, "Oh, seems fine, we'll all hold." That's really what you want them to do, and then you and your other heroes can do whatever heroic thing you need to do. But you've got some extra bonds of you. The other big thing you could do with gold is you could hire a sage. Someone who knew stuff. Someone who could find stuff out. If you were going to the lost jungles of Hurland, go find a sage who knows about that sort of stuff. And find out what sort of monsters there are in there. And if he looks after looking for his book, says, "Oh, there are trolls in Hurland," well, then you know to stock up on your vials of acid and your Greek fire granados and more fire, more acid bombs, because you know there are trolls in them there jungles. You found out. You're not just going to be wandering through the jungles and then 3 trolls leap out and you go, "Oh no, 3 trolls! If only we had some acid or fire." You spent money on a sage. You know about it. And this was a key part of AD&D. You hired a sage to find out about where you were going. If you were going to the Wizard's Archon's tower, you would hire a sage who might be able to tell you some things about the Wizard's Archon. Was he a golem maker? Was he a necromancer? So will you find golems? Will you find undead in Zarquan's tower? Even if Zarquan's no longer there. Or was he so far along in his research into necromancy that he is now a lich? Well, a sage might be able to tell you. He might be able to find that out for you. Of course, that's going to cost you gold. You're going to have to spend money to hire the sage, and then more money to keep him employed while he finds out some interesting fact for you. And as a GM, always give the PCs an interesting fact if they do spend money on a sage. Don't just roll the dice, look at them and go, "Oh, well, he didn't find out anything for you. Well, that was a waste of money. I guess we go on the adventure now." No, tell them something. They've invested in it. They've put some trouble towards trying to find out stuff about it. Give them some information. It could be something scary. If you're feeling particularly cruel, it could be something wrong. You can say, "Oh, yes, it says here, Zarquan was most interested in golems. He spent a lot of money and he's got 2 flesh golems, which will probably still be around. So perhaps you should invest in things to fight flesh golems." When instead he was researching actually how to become a lich, and he's still up there cackling away. Or possibly just reading away and won't even notice when you burst into the place, because which is generally hard to rouse from their reading. That's another thing. But research is another thing you can spend with gold. That's a very important thing. Third thing you can spend is on a fortress. Now, AD&D First Edition had this idea that when you hit 9th level, 10th level, your character would settle down and build a fortress. If they're a fighter, there'd be a fortress somewhere out in the wilderness. And if you're any other sort of character, you'd build it more near a civilization. You build a tower if you're a wizard, or a thieves' den if you're a thief, or a temple if you're a cleric. But you would build something. You would build a base. You would then have a base of operations. And if it was the fighter, then you would have a base of operations, and you then went out and subdued the surrounding area. What they called hex crawling. Of course, you can always hire other adventurers to do that for you. Another use for your gold. But you can spend money on building a base of operations. Even as lower level characters, you can, say, invest in an inn. So that when you come back, you have an inn. You always have a place to sleep. You have a place where there are people regularly awake, so you do not need to watch. You have a place where you can stick all your stuff. So consider investing in building a base of operations. And again, the first edition D&D will tell you what you need. How much gold it will cost to build however big a structure you want. You can start off modest with a small fort or a small house, but then you can go wild and you can crack the Chevaliers. That massive fortress out that used to be out in Palestine, the Holy Lands, during the Crusader times. You can dig up some weird fantasy castle and say, I want one of them. And then you can cost it out and say, well, that's going to take us 324 gold pieces. Oh, well, good thing we've got that sort of money. Oh, we'll hire them. And then you'll go into the hiring of the minions you'll need to build it. So that's what you can do. You can build a base of operations. Or, if you're a much more aggressive bunch, you can build multiple bases. So as you move, you always have a local fort to take your fighting from. And with that base of operations, you should have hirelings, you should have servants, you should have guards, you should have people manning it. So that when you come back to it, it is nice and fresh, and everything works, and the linen is cleaned, and the food is ready. And these are all good things to spend gold on. Fourth thing to spend gold on are magical services. Because unlike crazy adventurers, lunatic murder hobos, insane rackers, most people don't want to go out into hideous, dangerous places. And some of those people are magic users. Or they are priests, they are holy men, they are touched by the gods. They can work miracles. Consider having one of them on tap, or know where to find one. So that, when you come back with a curse, you can roll up to your favourite temple, make your donation of 500 gold, or 600 gold, or whatever it is it's going to cost, and get that curse removed. If you don't happen to rock a wizard in your adventuring party, maybe you should seek one out. Then when you get some magic items, you can go and get them identified, and you'll charge for that. And that is a good source of spending your gold on. Do not tell the PCs, this is a wand of magic missiles, or this is an amulet of blah, or this is easily a shield of arrow catching. Tell them it's a magic item, or it is a well-made item, and they'll have to find out what it is. They'll have to cast that identify spell. They don't have identify on them. They don't have anyone who can do that. Then they'll need to hire someone to do it, and that is a good source of spending gold. These days, the other good source of spending gold is a remove curse spell. Find a priest, find a cleric, find someone, make friends with them, and regularly donate to them, and they will cast that remove curse for you. So that's the fourth source of gold. Getting magic spells cast for you that you don't have already. If you happen to be in a game where you have durational spells, consider hiring someone to come along with you and pay them. You cast whatever energizing or empowering spell they have on you, and then they can sit outside with the guards and the cook boy and the cooks and the people who shine your shoes and everyone else, in exchange for some loot. So, that's the fourth thing you can spend money on. Fifth thing you can spend money on is other adventurers. Are you missing something in your party? Or do you feel you need an extra good fighter? You need an extra wizard. You need that life cleric. And no one really wants to play life cleric, so consider hiring one as a henchman. There are rules for that. There are rules for getting a henchman, and if you're the Dungeon Master, then you get to look through the tables which give them the qualities and their personality traits. There's a whole 2 pages on that. And there's a random table for their alignment. Because chaotic evil people need to eat too. You might just end up hiring a chaotic evil priest. Or a lawful neutral rogue. An agent. Someone who's been inserted into the party to keep an eye on them. But you can have henchmen. And henchmen cost a lot of gold. Because they have all the special abilities and qualities that a player character has. They're often of a lower level, and you have to equip them as well, which will cost you, again, more gold. But it's a good thing to spend gold on. Feel you need another fighter? Want to spend money on coaxing that barbarian to come along with you? You know, just promise them gold and gems and dancing girls, and that's going to add up to what you're going to be hiring no regular henchmen for. But you can get them to come along. So if you feel your party's a bit small and you don't want to manage 50 hirelings, consider a henchman or 2. But it will cost you gold. Be something you can spend your ill-gotten gains on. Even if it's just, 4 first-level fighters. And they can stand the watches. They can watch your back. They can keep an eye out on things. They get all the boring jobs. If you feel you want someone to go and have a look at something, you say, go in there, have a look. You can do that with hirelings too, but henchmen are more likely to come back. So that's something you can spend gold on. Of course, number 6 is you can become a noble. Throughout history, kings, dukes, greater nobles, they often needed cash. They needed money. They wanted money to spend on wars. They wanted to expand their holdings. They wanted to have the richest things. They needed cash. One of their best sources of cash was granting patents to nobility, saying, yes, you too can call yourself Sir Humphrey Moneybags. Just give me your money first. And so, if you want your characters common, most characters in a D&D game should be common, one of their aspirations should be to become a noble. Consider putting things in the game which you get to have by being a noble. And let me know that at certain times you can buy nobility. You can buy into being a noble. You get to be called Sir or Baron. And you get all these nice privileges. You might get to wear arms and armour in the towns because you are a knight or you are a baron. You are allowed to do that. Everyone else has got to register their weapons and equipment and get them stowed somewhere. But if you're a noble, you get to keep that stuff. Consider having that in your game, and there being a price for becoming that important. You get to have an audience with other nobility. You get to talk to them, and maybe that will be a source for more adventures. You are now a knight. You're considered a noble, a peer of the realm. You get all sorts of status and importance and opulence for being that. So that's the last thing you can spend your money on. Spend it on becoming an important person. It doesn't matter what you were before. Once you get into the noble club, once you have spent that 10,000 gold pieces to buy your nobility, well, you're in. And so that's the last thing to spend money on. So, in summary, getting loot, getting money, is not merely a case of giving it out, but giving the PCs things to do with it. If there is nothing for them to do with their money, then it is basically worthless. It is not worth anything. It is just another number on their character sheet. But if you give them all sorts of cool things you can do with it, and for inspiration I recommend the first edition DMG for that, then money becomes a lot more sought after. They'll actually want those gold pieces. It won't just be a means of keeping score, it'll be a means to an end, which is what money is. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe.